Welcome back to Shining Phoenix Gaming for another edition of Shining Indies. Today I'm here to show off a platformer that released back in September 2022 on Steam and October 2022 on iOS called Crano Origins, developed and originally self-published by Game Atomic, a single-person team. Also recently announced earlier this week, he's partnered with Elden Pixels to have the game published on the Nintendo Switch on March 28th. Now, the best way to describe Crano comes directly from the Steam page, actually. Fight monsters, ghosts, and zombies with your mighty scythe. Find all the secrets, unlock powerful weapons, avoid saws, fireballs, pools of acid, and spikes. Crano Origins is retro gaming goodness. Now, that last sentence right there is spot on. Retro gaming goodness. Hits on all the right notes with the gameplay, the retro graphics, and the fun. First thing I wanted to point out is the fact that your character here is using a scythe. Instantly, this was a big draw to me when I first noticed the game. You really don't see many games that have this as a weapon, let alone being the singular primary weapon of the main character. Now, sure, it's been in games like, Diablo, for example, but not in the capacity it is here as the primary weapon. You've got 3 standard actions with it. You got your normal attack, which slashes in front of you. It also can be done in the air. You've got a downward sweep that you can do while you're jumping in the air, which will hit objects below you. Also works as a double jump, because you'll actually rebound off of the enemies and objects down below you. And then also, you've got a defensive input by hitting up on the attack button at the same time. You're going to spin your scythe, creating a kind of shield effect that is going to stop most projectiles. Now, if you actually time it just right, you're going to reflect the shot back at the enemy. The scythe itself also negates enemy projectiles if you actually slash at them. You also have various sub-weapons, such as an axe that you can throw in an arcing manner, or a firebomb, for example. There's 6 in total that can be upgraded into more powerful versions of themselves, which could also add additional effects, such as the axe getting an ice property that can freeze enemies in place for a period of time. There is a slot for a 7th sub-weapon, but I'm told it's going to be added later on as free DLC. The current selected weapon is up near the health bar and uses energy, which is drawn from the blue bar, which is right below your green HP bar, and your sub-weapons can be swapped using the shoulder buttons. Your HP is replenished by finding hidden green bottles, some large, some small, and your weapon power is replenished by these blue orbs that appear when killing enemies or destroying objects in the level, such as candle holders. Very Castlevania there. When you start the game, you're granted with a Super Mario-esque world map for level selection. Each area is unique and adds more and more hazards and more enemies to contend with. Every level has a challenging boss at the end, of course, which you'll have to defeat to wrap up the stage, except for the final level, but I'm not going to spoil the reason why. You actually have to find that out by playing the game. The Steam page does mention that there's 8 stages in total, but that's not 100% accurate, but this is actually a good thing. There's 6 additional, more challenging levels to bring the total up to 14. These levels really do test your skills and knowledge on the game's weapons, enemies, hazards, etc. There's also no checkpoints, so if you die, you're going to have to start all the way at the beginning of the level, contrary to the normal 8 stages where there are periodic checkpoints. Now, while these levels are indeed skippable, your reward at the end is a skull which can be used at an upgrade shop located between levels 3 and 4 on the world map. Here, at the cost of the skull and some of your gold, you can upgrade your sub-weapons to make them, of course, like I had mentioned earlier, stronger or enhance their properties, again like the freeze property that gets added to the axe. Continuing with the sub-weapons, these are acquired by finding a vendor that's hidden in each of the levels. You use the coins and the different colored gems that you pick up throughout your journey. They each equal different amounts, of course. And you use those coins to purchase your sub-weapons, with your total coins being located at the top of the screen. When it comes to dying, either by losing your HP or falling into a pit, of course, classic platformer stuff, you're going to lose 25% of that currency. Now, fear not. You're going to have a chance to go back and pick up this floating gold bag when you respawn, either at the beginning of the level during your challenge stages, or at any of the checkpoints you happen to hit in your normal 8 stages. Be careful, however. Should you die again prior to picking up the floating bag of money, you're going to lose an additional 25% of whatever your current amount is, and the original bag is going to be lost for good. It also seems that you have infinite lives in this game. Not once did I ever have to start from the beginning of the game whatsoever, or at the beginning of the normal progression, the normal 8 levels. I'm not sure if this happened, if you happen to die with no gold, or if you die too much and then you're going to end up having to restart, but it really does seem like that you do have infinite lives. So this is really good news for players that aren't really that great at platformers, but do still enjoy playing them. Audiovisual is up next, and you can't go wrong here. Game looks, feels, sounds just like a retro platformer from days past. You got a few options with regards to some of the visuals that add filters to the game, with my personal favorite actually being the Game Boy looking filter. There's also something called Plus Mode. What it does is it adds this kind of additional lighting effect, gives the game a little bit more depth. I like what it adds. It's subtle, but it is noticeable. However, if you want a full retro experience, you can actually keep it off. Sound effects are simple, but they do the job. It sounds like it belongs in the game that from the era that it's actually influenced from. The music's creepy, it's ghouly, it's very fitting with each of the stages that you come across. There's some really great pixel art here as well across the board, from the character designs to the stages. Even the backgrounds on some of the stages really don't lack in detail whatsoever. They're really, really well done. Nothing in this game was overlooked. When you look at this game as a whole and everything that it has to offer, from its pixel art, its music, the 14 total stages, the boss battles, it's really hard to think that this was developed by one person. It's quite a feat to have a full-length 14-stage game like this with all the great pixel art by one person. It's really amazing. Now, before I wrap up, Game Atomic also has a sequel of sorts in development right now called Crano Reanimated, which boasts high-bit pixel art. Way I can describe it is I'd like to think of Origins as your NES original game, and Reanimated is going to be your SNES or your PS1 sequel, kind of how Mega Man X was to the original Mega Man series. I'm going to be doing a video of that demo very soon. That's going to do it for this video of Shining Indies. If you like the video, throw a thumbs up. And if you want to see more coverage on indie games, hit that subscribe button. And go pick up Crano Origins on Steam, or scoop it up on March 28th on Nintendo Switch.